Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 262, The Lonesome, for they know not what. It's a fascinating poem. Of course, that they know not what immediately makes us think of that comment in Luke 23:34, they know not what they do, as Christ is hanging on the cross, asking for forgiveness. I think there's a lot of Milton, and I've said this in earlier lectures to you guys. I think there's a lot of Milton in Paradise Lost, and of course the Genesis 3 story that stands behind this notion that Emily has, that there's something really incredible about Eden, and then one is tossed out of Eden, or of course Adam and Eve, tossed out of Eden. And in that process of losing paradise, and the process of losing Eden, there's this longing to get back. In other words, you don't know what you've got until you don't have it. Certainly, I think we're going to play this game out here. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already played around with our set of introductory comments. I'm hopeful that as well, you've already worked with our preceding 261 poems. We just finished with 261, Put Up My Lute. Now, if you've done this reading up to this point, this will not be an unusual poem for you, because this is another poem about loss. And as she calls it, the lonesome. Interesting, lonesome will take us back to poem 215. You'll remember when we saw it there. The lonesome, for they know not what the eastern exiles be, who strayed beyond the amber line, some matter holiday. And ever since the purple moat, they strive to climb in vain, as birds that tumble from the clouds do fumble at the strain. The blessed ether taught them some transatlantic morn, when heaven was too common to miss, too sure to dote upon. Now, I think there's a lot going on in this poem for Emily. I think this is not a simple poem to access, but I think it's easier if we understand, probably standing behind this is that notion of the loss of Eden, especially in Milton's Paradise Lost, of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose mortal taste brought death into the world and all our woe. Sing heavenly news. Now, we've given full lectures on Paradise Lost at LearnStrong.net if you want to run that to ground. I think there's a lot going on here. I think this is a key word here, lonesome. She used it, like we said, in poem 215. The lonesome, which Emily is going to identify with, but they don't know why, right? In other words, they're uncertain. And then she'll call them the Eastern exiles. Notice both capitalized, the Eastern exiles. Now, is she referencing, of course, the exiles of biblical tradition and those, that remnant taken in 586 to Babylon? Is that what she's referencing? I mean, when she talks about exiles, I think here she's probably referencing the Adam and Eve being tossed out of Eden and the exiles there, who strayed beyond the amber line, the East, some matter holiday. Now, this notion of madness and the holiday is fascinating. Like, of course, holiday, holy day. There's some theological, I think, references that are happening here as well. What is she saying? Well, you don't appreciate what it is that you have in Eden until you're living east of Eden, to, of course, reference the Genesis 3 reference. And once you're there, ever since. The purple moat, you'll remember this word moat from poem 213. They strive to climb. In other words, the dislocated, the lonesome, if you will. Strive to climb in vain. There's no getting back. As birds, now notice the simile here, that tumble from the clouds do fumble. Listen to her. It's brilliant. Tumble, fumble at the strain. In the earlier poem of 261, it was Teach Me the Strain. The strain. In other words, once birds lose the song, the special song, the blessed ether taught them, and notice in the previous poem it was Teach Me, here it's taught them, some transatlantic morn, notice it's in the morning, when heaven was too common. We immediately, of course, think of Satan as Lucifer, who's tossed out of heaven, to miss, too sure to dote upon. Now, when we get to poem 959, we're going to come back to this study. This is the way that she'll talk about a loss there. A loss of something ever felt I, the first that I could recollect. Bereft I was of what I knew not, too young that any should suspect. A mourner walked among the children. I, notwithstanding, went about as one bemoaning a dominion itself, the only prince cast out. Elder today, a session wiser, and fainter too, as wiseness is. I find myself still softly searching for my delinquent palaces. And a suspicion, like a finger, touches my forehead now and then, and I'm looking oppositely for the sight of the kingdom of heaven. Here it's kingdom of heaven. Of course, in 262, it's these Eastern exiles. Maybe she's referencing Eden. I think it's a fair attempt at a reading anyway. What's the point here at 2a for messages? I think the argument she's making is we really don't appreciate what we have until we no longer have it. I think at 2b, I think she might be playing around with Christ's words on the cross in Luke 23:34. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. At 3a, well, of course, we mentioned Milton and Paradise Lost, as well as I think poem 959. When we get there, we'll come back to this poem. Finally, at 3b, what was a time when you learned the value of something, but only after it was gone and it was a strain and in vain to try to recover it? Thank you.